What's up guys, welcome back. I hope you're in the mood for another comfort food classic because today I'm gonna show you how to make this delicious crab and corn chowder. In my opinion, this is one of the most underrated soups of all time, especially this recipe. We've got bacon, we've got crab, we've got corn, we've got the Cajun Trinity. But before we get into the recipe, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. All right guys, meet me in the kitchen, let's make it happen. First things first, let's take a look at these ingredients. Today we're getting the party started with some bacon. Obviously for the pork patrol out there, this is totally optional. You can leave it out or you can substitute it with beef bacon if you want. We got a little chicken broth. You can use vegetable or seafood stock as well. Of course, we got a little overpriced lump crab meat. The prices are starting to come down a little bit though, I'll say. A little lobster base just to amplify the seafood flavor. We got some fresh corn that's still in season for another couple weeks. We've got some creme fraiche or heavy cream if you can't find this. Butter, flour for our roux, and then the Cajun Trinity, which is comprised of onion, pepper, and celery. All right, so we're gonna get started by prepping the corn. Obviously fresh is best guys. If it's in season where you're at this time of the year, depending on when you're seeing this video, then use fresh. If not, just get a good quality frozen corn. We're gonna take a nice sharp knife. If you don't have one or you need to upgrade, I know a guy that's got one on sale right now. Take a nice sharp knife and just cut down the side. It might be a little messy. It's probably best to do this in a bowl, but I'm trying to show you guys the technique here. Real simple. Just shave the corn off. It's gonna be nice and fresh. Just add a little bit of sweetness to the dish. Just repeat this for all of your ears of corn. We're using 3 in total today. There we go, all our corn is prepped and ready. We're gonna toss some of this into bacon fat, and we're also gonna puree half of it into the soup to give us that nice thick consistency.
And this episode is sponsored by Cuts Clothing, aka my new favorite brand for work leisure apparel. If you're looking for a comfortable fit with professional quality fabrics that impress everywhere you go, then this brand is for you. From shirts you can wear to the office, Zoom calls, dates, nights out with the boys, etc., Cuts has clothing designed for all. If you're tired of dealing with poor quality t-shirts that don't last more than 2 to 3 washes, then you need to try Cuts Clothing. With them, you won't have that problem because they make shirts to last. I also really love their minimalism approach. No loud logos or branding, just a subtle X on the right side seam. And most importantly, these are some of the most comfortable shirts that I've ever worn. The fall is approaching, it's gonna start getting cold, and I can't wait to try out some more of their hoodies. I love the quality of this brand, and I think you will too, so get 15% off today by going to cuts.team/MrMakeItHappen and entering the code MrMakeItHappen. That's cuts.team/MrMakeItHappen and enter the code MrMakeItHappen today.
So for this, you can use a really large deep frying pan like this, or you can use a Dutch oven, a pot, whatever you gotta work. We added a little bit of avocado oil over medium heat, and to that, I'm gonna add 5 or 6 strips of bacon that are already sliced up, and we just wanna fry this until it's crispy. You wanna allow that bacon to render all of its fat and flavor. We're gonna add some corn to this mix and get that caramelized with the bacon. Then we'll remove the bacon and the corn. That'll be our garnish for the soup at the end. But you just wanna, slow play it a little bit, allow it to render that fat, get nice and crispy for us. 5 or 6 minutes should do the trick. So after about 5 or 6 minutes or so, you can see the bacon starting to get nice and crispy. Plenty of that fat and flavor rendering out. That's gonna add tons of flavor to the rest of the soup, or chowder, whatever you wanna call it. Once it's nice and crispy, we're gonna take a slotted spoon and remove it. But before we do that, we're gonna add a little bit of corn to the party, just to kind of pre-cook that. That way it's done when we go to garnish our soup at the end. So as you can see, the bacon's getting nice and crispy, about 3/4 of the way there. So this is a great time to go ahead and add in some of that corn. Again, just a little bit. Be careful when you add it because it's got some natural moisture. Might make that bacon grease pop a little bit. And that'll cook real fast, guys. Maybe like a minute, 2 minutes max. So just take a slotted spoon, that way you leave behind all the flavor in the pot. And we're gonna remove the bacon and the corn. And we'll use some of that for garnish for our final presentation. Bacon and corn go together beautifully. So does the crab. Again, I think this is one of the most underrated soups out there. You don't really see it on a lot of menus. I think it's a little bit more common in places like South Carolina and New Orleans, but for you guys up there, up in the north, if you've never seen this, you gotta give it a try. Next, we're going in with our Cajun Trinity, which is the celery. We got some jalapeno, some red bell pepper, and our onion. Quick reminder, guys, that all the specific measurements and ingredients for this recipe can be found in the description box below, so don't forget to check that out. We're also going in with 1 stick of butter. Don't tell my heart doctor. Just let that cook down, let those veggies absorb all that flavor and get nice and tender for us. When you dice your veggies, it doesn't really matter how fine you dice them or how big they are, because we're gonna puree this with an immersion blender. You'd also just put it in a regular blender as well if you want to. So don't get too crazy about the size of the peppers or the onions. Now we're going in with the rest of that corn. We're gonna mix that in. Plenty of veggies in here, also lots of butter, so I think it balances out, right? Let me know what you think in the comments, I'm sure you will. The corn is gonna add a little bit of sweetness. I love using fresh corn for this recipe if you can find it. Frozen is the next best bet. And if you have to resort to the canned corn, then I wouldn't be mad at you, it'll still be good. Next up, we're gonna amplify the seafood flavor a little bit with a little lobster base. You could also use clam base if you can't find lobster. If you can't find either of those two things, just go in with a little chicken base or veggie base. 2 teaspoons of that. It's better than bouillon stuff. It's pretty salty, guys, so that's why I haven't added a whole lot of seasoning just yet. We want to get that in there first. And then kind of season as you go. Make sure you taste as you go and adjust the flavor to your preference. They also sell reduced sodium versions of the lobster base, for those of you guys that are watching the sodium. All right, so now we're gonna make our roux. We've got all our veggies in there with the butter, the bacon fat. I'm going in with about a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. This is gonna be the thickening agent for our soup. Give that a mix. Make sure you cook that raw flour taste off. It takes about a minute or so to do that. Once you've cooked off that raw flour, we're going in with 4 cups of chicken or seafood broth. You want to give that a mix and bring that up to a boil. You'll start to notice everything thickening up a little bit, which is exactly what you want to see. So at this point, guys, you just want to bring it up to a gentle boil. You can already see it starting to thicken up. You don't want it to get too thick, because once we blend all of these veggies, the corn and all that good stuff, once we blend that, that's going to thicken up the soup quite a bit as well. So the flour is just there to kind of assist a little bit. I like the consistency we have right here. I'm going to add a pinch of fresh chopped parsley for a pop of color and to brighten things up a little bit with some fresh herb flavor. And in just a second, we'll go ahead and get the immersion blender fired up. Guys, so this is an immersion blender or stick blender, whatever you want to call it. If you don't own one of these, they definitely help with things like soups. You can get one on Amazon or at Target, Bed Bath & Beyond for pretty cheap. We're just going to puree all the veggies in here. You want to do this once you turn the heat off, that way you don't splatter too bad. We're doing this in a pretty shallow pot, so a little splatter is going to happen. Sorry to my cameraman. So after you've made a little bit of a mess, this is what you're looking like. Everything is blended beautifully. We got some great color in there from the red pepper, the jalapeno. It's looking great. Now what I'm gonna do is add back in a little bit of that bacon and corn, saving some for garnish. Let's mix that in. And we're going in with about 1/4 cup of creme fraiche or heavy cream if you can't find this. This is gonna add some great creaminess to the soup and some great flavor. Just mix that in. And again, guys, a great substitute for creme fraiche is gonna be heavy cream. But try to find the creme fraiche. If you haven't seen it, it's usually in the specialty cheese section or sometimes over by the sour cream. So we're gonna give that a mix until it's well combined, and then we're gonna season to taste. So I'm gonna take the ladle here and just kind of show you the consistency that we're looking at. The creme fraiche is almost fully melted and, you know, incorporated into the soup. Still got some good bacon and some corn chunks in there, which is what you want to see. Only thing missing is the crab. We'll add that at the very end since it's already cooked. But now it's time to add some seasoning to the mix. Now, as far as the seasoning goes, we're going in with the dynamic duo, a little original and a little hot all-purpose seasoning. And then my second favorite dynamic duo, which is a little Tony's Creole seasoning and some Old Bay. As always, guys, make sure you taste as you go and adjust the flavor to your preference. Season your soup based on your taste. There we go. And that should do it. Just let that simmer for about 15 to 20 minutes, then we'll add the crab. Then it'll be time to plate this up. All right, so now we're going in with our lump crab meat. You could also use claw, guys. It's a little bit cheaper. You still get the good flavor. You can do this with shrimp too. Shrimp's a little bit cheaper. We're gonna save a little bit of the crab for garnish, but we're going in with most of it. Let's give that a mix. The crab's gonna add nice, delicate sweetness to the soup. A little bit of that seafood flavor as well. You're gonna have yourselves a nice bowl of comforting crab and corn chowder. Now just let that simmer away for another 10 to 15 minutes and then we'll go ahead and plate this up. I know I can't wait to get in there, I'm starving. All right, so to garnish this up, we're going down with a little mound of lump crab right in the center, because why the hell not? We're here for a good time, not a long time, and we paid for it. So let's load it up. Might as well treat yourself, right? Next, we're gonna add a little bit of that bacon and corn that we cooked in the beginning. Sprinkle that around a little bit. A handful of oyster crackers. And we're gonna garnish it up with some fresh diced chive. And that, my friends, is a bowl of crab and corn chowder. All right, now the only thing left to do is get in here for a taste test. But before we do that, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that bell to enable notifications as well. Oh man, I know they say don't play with your food, but that might count as a money shot. Here we go, folks. Trying not to burn my mouth. Cheers. Today I'm gonna show you how to make this. As soon as I start thinking I'm a one take it up immediately.